Welcome. I think we're live. I think we are
You think so?
live. I think so.
Oh man, look at that! It changed screens and everything, man.
Did it change screens and everything? Okay, I got you. I got you.
Damn,
oh
look at that.
God.
Look at that.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oof.
Look at that. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, welcome to Devin the Gamer. It's been a minute. I understand that you know, in this YouTube space, you conflict with other people's podcasts and things like that. You know, there's no reason for to try to do it because we were supposed to be doing this like what 3 hours ago, but again,
Tried it 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Now check this out. Now this was what was crazy. All right, I think we probably had, and you have to believe us, right? We probably had the best Devin the Gamer, I think, of all time 3 weeks ago. And it was extra long too. I think we went what three and a half hours that night, and like it was on a Saturday night. We were just kind of like, yeah, man, let's get this going because I've been had all these other type of situations.
Yeah,
going
Kim,
on,
you had some good painkillers going, so you can do a little bit longer. Yeah, I got you.
I was feeling it. I was good. I was like, all right, let's get ready to do it. And then next thing you know, what's going on with you guys? What's happening, Cast It? And thank you for liking me, Legends. I really do appreciate that. And you know what I'm saying? I haven't seen you on Fight Night, but again, I don't be posting Fight Night on YouTube because I don't like, I hate getting those copyright strikes just for playing games that I've owned. So I do it on Twitch.
We got a way to fix that though.
Yeah,
for
we
you?
do got we got to work around. We got to
We
work
we
around.
we're doing some things here between me and Mega. We're gonna go over all that. Do you want
Right.
to
Yeah.
start with that? Do you want to end with
No, no, no,
that?
no, no, no. We can end with that. But
Okay.
there's definitely other ideas and stuff that we've had going on. It's just the conflicting of time and trying to do other stuff. But with that being said, but that 3 weeks ago, that was a fantastic conversation between me and Don. I feel that was the best. And so then Don was like, and I was like, Don, don't you wait like 3, 4, 5 days to send me that content so I could post it on my channel, right? Like I was like, no, you ain't because the conversations was good. They were ahead of schedule from a lot of the information that we got that week, and sure enough, he gave it to me during like the next day, and then next thing he says, Mega, uh, there's a problem. And I was like, what's the issue? I'm like, man, I appreciate you giving it to me right now so I can post it. And he says, man, there's something wrong with the audio. And I'm like, man, it probably might be too low. I'll crank it up. And yeah, the audio was
Well,
completely busted.
the lesson learned, so it doesn't happen again, guys. When audio is not working in OBS, you gotta shut it down right then and there. Fix what the audio issue is. Restart it back up. Otherwise, it ends up being snap, crackle, pop throughout the whole entire stream. In regards to that, so that was the lesson that was learned. I thought I'm like, there's a problem. It doesn't have the source correct, and I switched it over, and that's what screwed it all up.
Yeah.
And so lesson learned. Just stop it. Start over. Don't try to fix it on the fly. Just fix it off air. Reboot, and go from there. So hopefully we'll never have to deal with that between either me, Mega, whatever we do in the future. We know never to do that again with OBS, and that way you will never miss out on whatever we're going to be doing. So
right, and and so it is what it is. It happens. So hopefully we can try to live up to that to what that was Saturday night. That was, like I said, that was an epic conversation. And everything that we were talking about happened beforehand. Like there weren't even topics that were brought up that like during the week from previous, content creators or anything. It was just speculation that we were talking about, and lo and behold, it all happened. It all happened. It was nuts.
It's almost like you're a gamer and I'm a dev. Weird, huh?
Pretty much.
Weird.
Well, with that being said, let's get to it, man. The 34th episode of Devin the Gamer, man. I mean, that's history in its own right, I believe. But anyway, man, but really, it's spanned through what, 3 years?
And so, what is it a possibility that we can get close to like 80 this time next year?
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No
so
doubt.
We have a plan. We want to take it a little more seriously, instead of flying by the seat of our pants all the time. Both me and Megan have all our plans. So you'll see a little bit more of us. I still think it'll be a bi-weekly thing. I think that'd be the best thing to do. That way you're not recycling all the same topics. Mm-hmm. There's so many different podcasts out there. We get it. And yes, we do have something unique, but regardless of it being unique or not, I wanted to still feel fresh when you guys take the time to watch us. So
right, and then of course there's other topics that when people bring them out like day of or the week of, there's always some new developing story to it, like either the hype behind something completely just died and faded, or there was something else that happened that progressed. So that's also true too, to where you could just take your time and just have
I also force Mega to dig a little deeper for things too. I do put a little bit of that pressure on him.
Listen to that.
Hey man, you delivered. Don't worry about him.
Oh man. All right. So, well, let's just get right into it, man. What you been playing, Don, here lately? What you been going on?
I've been playing that Aliens game. In regards to that, just me, I can only do one thing at a time when it comes to that. Like I enjoy games more when I'm not split between this game, and this game, and it's a natural habit to just want to play everything all at once, but I don't get as much enjoyment out of it. So been focused on the Aliens game. I've been streaming that on the YouTube and the Twitch channel, and I don't think that game's that long, so I'll probably be able to knock that out pretty quickly here. And I think it's between I'm done with betas. I mean, I play unfinished games every freaking week of my life. That's what I do, right? Like I want to play finalized games right now. We're in the season of everything's coming out, so it's really between right now is there's the one that just hit Game Pass, that Marvel one,
Oh,
the
Avengers.
the Avengers one.
Marvel Avengers, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get Aliens done so I can go to that next and just do at least the story mode side of things, and then I'm on the waiting list for whatever's coming out soon, right? Like Riders Republic. I'm waiting for that to come out. I'm waiting for Forza Horizon to come out. And by the time I finish those, I mean I'm pretty sure I'll probably will finish Forza before Riders. No, sorry, before Halo comes out. To be honest with you, because I tend to plow through those games pretty quickly. I'm pretty methodical how I go about it. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to the onslaught of good quality product just around the corner. So
Nice. All right. Yeah, as for me, like I said that I was once like 2K Madden came out, I was pretty much done with single player games, and then sure enough, here comes Far Cry 6, and then of course there's this game that I played on the PC. I'll talk about that here a little bit later, but I'm probably going to butcher it, so I'm going to say this right now. Let me be country, but it's Yun Young Sword 7. I think if I butchered it, please correct me in the chat. But regardless of that, uh, I've been no life in it, and it's not very long. It's probably about anywhere from 10 to 20 hours, just according how you play. If you do the puzzles, if you play the Chinese chess, things like that. But I'm like, man, I got to finish it, because I got close to the end. Or I thought I got close to the end when I was on the PC version, and then I got past that part, and I'm like, oh, there's still more stuff. So I've been playing that, and then there's a shooter that I've never played before. That's called Luminous Gate and Luminous Gate and Limis Gate, and it's completely different. That's on Game Pass, and it's if you're looking for just a shooter that is completely different from anything else that you played, that game is it. It is so different. Like, there's Splitgate that's pretty different. This is just as unique because it has okay, so you shoot people, you do the normal thing, you try to get to a location, blow something up, and you have it to where it's 2v2, 1v1, and I think there's 3v3. But where the twist of it is that if you die, you'll be reset and you have to play as another character, and then that character that just got killed will do the same, will be replicated and go and do the same thing, and you can go another direction to try to deter to find the true person. And if you kill the regular person and not like this past uh AI that just got killed, if you killed the actual person that's running around, you get double the points. It is really rare. I've never played anything like it. Graphically, it's not bad at all. It looks pretty damn good, but it is really different. I've never played a shooter like that, and it's caught my interest. But yeah, and of course, Back for Blood. Me and Don's going to go crazy on that. Hopefully, we can get some other people to
oh
join
yeah,
us.
and I'm a little bit afraid of how that will suck up my life, right? Like that's why I'm like, what do I start next, and what do I get out of the way, because I know that's converging on some time there. But it's gonna be good. That one's gonna be a lot of fun too. So.
Oh no, Curie, we just got started, so here we go. And then again, of course, there's a Demon Slayer that's going to be coming out here, hopefully midnight tonight. If not, it'll be coming out tomorrow, I think, at midnight. Me and Xbot is really happy about that. It's a fighter. It's something that I'm definitely going to be playing for Fight Night. And of course, I'm going to get back to playing some Smash Brothers this Sunday. So get ready for me to get my head beat if you like seeing me get my head beat. But Yeah, no, I mean, I've been kind of jumping around, but yeah, no, this one title has got me hooked until I beat it, and I know I'm pretty close to it. So, if you guys will check it out, I'll have the gameplay for all the games that I talked about on GRG Friday night. So if you want to check them out, but all right, let's get to it. Let's talk about Battlefield right off the bat, because me and you, Don and Slayer, and Predator, we've come in there. We played a little bit of it, and I haven't really got your thoughts on the game, or you've letting other people know how you feel about it. Me myself, I'm all in on Battlefield. There's been this controversy, despite if it's been on an old build. There's an article that came out today that says, Battlefield's troubled development is in identity crisis, and it's saying that that build is not very old. Like, they misled us about the build. Now, I don't know if that's true, but they're saying again that this game is in some kind of conflict development wise, and it's already got delayed until the 11th. Do you think that this game could get delayed again? And what do you think about, like, for this report that's saying that this game is played on an old build? Is not being played on an old build. This is something that it was a recent build. What do you think?
Well, and I want to know how they came to that premise. I mean, how do they know it's an old build or a new build? Like, here's the thing: is you don't really know unless the developer says so, right? Like, you have to take it on the word of the developer because there's something else to go off of. I've played newer builds and older builds before, and I'll tell you right now, you get newer builds, sometimes they play shittier. Sometimes they look shittier, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then next thing you know, the next build, they implement those things that are conflicting with one another. All of a sudden, the game looks amazing, right? So you never know, like, what's on the bug squash list, what's causing conflicts on a game unless you're privileged to those meetings. And so, you know, 3 months, yeah, they probably can implement a lot more things. 1 month, but you don't know what's holding up all the other things that are on there. So I really wouldn't read too much into that. I mean, in regards, it's not their first rodeo either. Like, some of the things they're running into is, something they can address. You just never know. I feel like with EA though, there is a little bit of a disconnect
Mm-hmm.
between their marketing department and their games, in regards to that, and that's something that they need to get their shit together at EA, when it comes to marketing. And the reason why I say that is, a lot of EA's troubles with the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think a lot of that stuff comes from that side that does the marketing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they push on things, in regards to that, or they have ideas on things, or or they don't push back on the wrong things, right? And the next thing you know, like, it just looks like EA just has a bad look, in regards to that. But I think the game looked fine. It wasn't impressive, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it felt like, a lot of things were placeholders, or a lot of things are, in the space are just not quite finished yet, for the game. But it played okay. I didn't like the map they had, to be honest with you. There wasn't like enough to, like, you're just that weird open space by the rocket where you just could get picked off really quickly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel like it was a really good layout, to be honest with you. You just, especially on the, you're like nowhere to travel other than flat, so you're you're getting not only killed from all angles, right? But you can be on the roof of that building nearby, right? And then you're also getting blast from above. So no, it's not only X, Y, but you're also being attacked by Z, right? So it's just, um, but it plays good. It's interesting for sure, and I'm definitely going to pick it up. But I just don't. I don't know. Like, it's hard going to from Halo to that. It's kind of like jumping from the pool to the hot tub sort of thing. It's a little bit shocking on gameplay, but I'm sure they'll get a lot more things that they've been complaining about all fixed. And I think people are just, they just want drama. You know what I mean? You want
Mm-hmm.
either drama or some sort of weird excuse, one way or the other. So
Right.
I think it's unfortunate. So
Yeah, it's saying that the beta is only like 90 days old.
that's 3 months old.
And
That's quite a bit.
well, that's what it says. Okay, so well, this is coming from Tom Henderson. I'm sorry, I was just reading
Is
his
that
tweet.
coming from EA or is that coming from?
This is coming from okay, so this is from a site. I'll
Okay.
put the link in the description afterwards, but this is a site called Gaming Intel. And they're going in and talking about what Tom Henderson was bringing it up, and it was saying that the build was allegedly supposed to be 90 days old
Okay.
a few months ago, but then they're saying that it's only 35 days old, and
So it can be a build. Both can be true, right? It could
right.
be so it can be a 90 day build. Sorry, a build from 90 days ago, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That they went back and said this is the most stable build we got, right?
Hmm.
And so they patched it upwards up to 30 days ago, took that pre-existing build, right? And then they patched it roughly about 30 days ago. And they could probably find timestamps in the build and stuff like that related to certain files and stuff like that. So, I mean, both can be true. Does that make sense? But it
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean it's a full representation of everything that they're implemented in the final product. And so it's just you just I don't know. People want to jump to conclusions, and they can if they want to, but that's their own reputation online. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. I don't think that's wise as a
Well,
gamer or anyone that's in the media sphere. Like they should know
right.
better.
Right, but see, this is the thing to me. Like now, if for the journalist, I mean, they're just getting this information from somebody that I guess that they trust. But this is
Hmm.
the thing that cracks me up, though. All right,
I mean,
so
that's most of journalism in a nutshell,
right,
right? So,
right. So I mean, but here they go, and they're saying that there were some people from Dice that contacted them,
hmm
and they wanted to stay anonymous. Now, this is the thing that trips me out because remember this, we was getting the same type of anonymous conversation about Halo, right? Like these people, they don't want to be talked about, but there was having all these concerns about Halo overall. Now everybody's talked about how much they love the beta, the flights. Now you don't see all that coming. Now it's just funny to me that like the only person that I can remember that came out and said anything about Halo was um, the um, the I can't remember what his name was, but he was the Asian guy that just came out and said what he said, but then his words got misconstrued, and then next thing you know, he had to come back and give tell a different version of what he was meaning about the
he
game.
had I think he had to
Right,
clarify,
right.
right?
He
And
had to clarify, right, because he was saying that the person that he was talking to, I don't know if they didn't understand what I meant or they were just trying to try to stir up some trouble, but he was not trying to downgrade Halo to anything. He's like, I worked on the game. Why would I hate? Why would I try to downplay anything that I've worked on? And that's the same thing reasoning that I have with this. There might be some people. There might be some people from Dice that came to this journalist and or these journalists and told them these things, but are they actually working on the game, or is this some of these people that work at Dice that's only going by hearsay and just kind of want to say something? That's the thing,
well,
because for me, this is how I look at it.
EA is a big company, right? In
Right.
regards to that, like, and
Well,
I
yeah,
don't talk about the
Dice.
project.
I don't know how many people work at Dice though. Like, I mean, but it's
Personally,
pretty big.
yeah, well, no, just EA in general. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when you have any big Battlefield game, those are even though Dice is like managing the game,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's a lot of playtesting and there's a lot of help from other studios that EA owns. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
when it comes crunch time, they help each other out. I mean, that's the part of the beauty of being a publisher. They don't get to work on the project full time, but they get to contribute sometimes, depending on where they're needing, where they need help. And I know at least from a playtesting standpoint, internally how EA works. Every studio playtests and gives input. So from that perspective, um, yeah, I don't know. Is it some sort of low level person? Is it someone disgruntled in regards to that they feel like a little cog in a huge machine? Is it somebody from another studio saying shit, right? Like you just don't really know in regards to that, and there's a lot of moving parts to that studio. So me personally, I mean, there's a reason why I don't even talk about the projects I work on, because I don't want my views and my opinions to be the mouthpiece for those studios and those projects. Does that make sense? Because when someone takes some of my stuff out of context, I don't want to hurt any sort of past employment because I may want to work with those people again. You know what I mean? Because I don't mean anything negative towards those groups and stuff like that. So the only thing I can think of is it's a studio maybe partially removed, intern that's been hired there, maybe pissed they're not getting on board full time because there's a lot of that sort of stuff that happens at big studios, and maybe that's the motivation. But yeah, anyone's a veteran within within any sort of company wouldn't do that. It's not something you would do. You know what I mean?
So. Right. And that's another thing too that I'm having a problem with. I'm seeing a lot of Xbox guys and girls out there that are trying to talk bad about Battlefield just because Halo was coming out. Stop that. There's no need for that. There's plenty of room
is it because they feel threatened?
To a degree, I feel that.
Or is it if this is good that something else can't be good, sort of mentality?
Probably that. Like it's one or the other. It's like, well, the Xbox is having their big wig coming in. They have the big boy coming, which is Halo, and Battlefield is coming, and then COD is coming. Well, there's a lot of people out here that's really not shown that much love for COD for what they've played. But that being said, people are still going to play COD. They're still going to buy it. So that's fine.
COD's the title that everyone talks crap about.
But
they still always buy it, right?
Right.
You're like, exactly. It's kind of talk the big talk, but not the walk, right?
Right.
In regards to me, I'm like, was there another COD come out this year? My game library is a little light this year. Like I'll pick it up when I need filler, and when I don't, I just whatever. I'll pick it up next time, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's one of those annual games for me that I normally pick up, but this will be the second time in 5 years that I have not picked up a COD, which is very odd because I've been buying Call of Duty since it was doing the World War II.
This last one's not that odd. You're standing on your principles on this one.
I
know that why you're doing it, and I get it. So like, that's the only way they're gonna change is stuff like that. So it affects their bottom line, and I don't encourage or discourage boycotts. I mean, you're a consumer. You need to figure out what will justify your purchase or not justify your purchase, right? In regards to that. So you got your own principles. I totally get it. But I don't think there's any real reason to hate. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, obviously, there's been multiple first-person shooters that have coexisted for years. It's probably one of the most popular genres where things can coexist in regards to that. So there's no reason to hate on something else just because you're more excited about something else that's going on. I mean, it's kind of like when you're in high school. The best way I can describe it is like, when you're in high school, like you have your hobbies. Say you play video games, right? But you're getting distracted by other things like girls and, let's say, getting your license, right? So a lot of times you would see all these cats from high school, right? They would get the girl, they would get their license, and they forget to play video games. Little secret: you can play your video games, get the girl, and get your license. You can do it all. Why not, right? So that's the way I look at these first-person shooters. If they're games that you like and games that you've enjoyed, yeah, I mean they wane in popularity and what you find fun every once in a while, but there's no reason why you can't enjoy all of them if those are games that you enjoy, right? Like on an annual basis. So no reason to hate on that. I mean that's some weird insecurity stuff. In regards to that. I mean, if you dislike a game on its own merits and don't really worry about another game's merits. Does that make sense? Right? Like just if they do something you don't like, I get it. And you don't have to buy it, but don't do it just because another game is just kind of the the more attractive game for you right now, or where your loyalties lie. Whatever.
I mean, look, I'm definitely an Xbox primary gamer, right? Like that is my main console of choice. but I'm not. But I love Battlefield, and and I played in this. I enjoyed Modern Warfare. I enjoyed Cold War. There's two reasons for, of course. One, you already know about the one reason why I won't buy COD this year, and then the other reason is because I've done the World War II thing. That's kind of and I'm away from it. Like
It's a little long in the tooth at this
this
point.
is the second time that I've done the World War II thing, especially going back to when Call of Duty. That's where it kind of started off from, was in the World War II era, and then Battlefield was modern. Then it went to the World War II, and then I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I want to get some modern stuff going on, and I'm sure that the story for Vanguard is going to be great. Like I like their action packed stories. But this is something like
Yeah, it's
I'll
a
pick
Jerry
up
Bruckheimer
some
film,
years,
but
yeah,
in
some
video
years down the
games.
line. I'm not caring about it like that. And and I know that I only got so much time in the day, and I can only give so much to each particular game. So Halo and Battlefield are going to be my shooters of choice. I mean, like Back for Blood is going to be in there. Aliens is going to be in there. That I have no time for COD. So it's like I mean, and if there's going to be for some people like they don't have time for none of them except for just one. So it'll either be COD, or it'll either be Battlefield, or it'll be just Halo. So to me, I'm excited about seeing that shooters are getting this much attention. This takes me back to the 360 PlayStation 3 years, and when consistently there was a Halo, there was a COD, there was a Battlefield, and even like with Battlefield and Halo, they're not annual, but they still had extra content or something different to add to the table. So I'm really excited about the end of the year. I mean, we're already close to it, but this is amazing. I've never seen a summer like we've seen, to all the way till the end of damn near to the middle of September. I mean to December, where it's just games after games after games after games. If you're not enjoying what's going on now, I don't even know if you got a gamer's pulse, in my opinion, because there is so much content out there to just play. So I don't know. I think that's really cool. I of course, I'm going to be all in on Battlefield. So, and you said that you'll pick it up eventually, and it's going. And
No,
for those out there that's on the fence, they'll pick it. It's going to come to EA Play within a year and a half, or something like that. If people want to
well,
wait,
it's more of where I find time, right? So
Yeah.
it's not even like I'm not going to get it. It's just where do I have time to play it, and if I have time to play it, that's when I'll pick it up. In regards to that, so that's kind of more my stance on it. So
Yeah, no doubt about it, no doubt about it. But come on, Xbox guys, come on, chill out. There's no need to be fearing Battlefield. Like Halo is going to be just fine. Yeah, Halo is going to be just fine. So, speaking of Halo, let's go right into it. Talk about Forge. Something we were kind of talking about way back then, 3 weeks ago. And then coming to get some more information. Basically, there was something that I posted. I don't know if you've seen it, but they're they showed like the just everything that you could do, and it looked foreign to me, because that's why I was like, hold on, wait a minute, this looked like you making your own type of game. What is all this other stuff? Because it was like 8-minute clips.
it
Well, like,
was you can mess
yeah,
with script and stuff like that. They're
right.
trying
So
to
they're
show.
saying that this forge is going to be so robust that there will be people that can actually go in and rewrite certain things, uh
I I
and
think their
make those
imaginations
stories.
run
You
the
think
wild
so?
with them.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
think so.
okay. But how big do you think the
It
forge is
doesn't
going
mean
to
they
be?
won't have some sort of access to script or something along
Hmm.
those lines. But I think you'd be somewhat limited to what you can change, right? Let's say you're able to pull a script up for something to respawn. It can be anything from a weapon to a gun to characters, whatever, right? So you can plug, hey, this respawn point on this location in the map can respawn these items, right? Well, you can change the timer and how often they respawn. So I can see them be able to change that number, but not the whole script. If you get where I'm going with that, so you're able to change like certain values and plug in certain things into one another to kind of get certain things to do what other things do on the map. But I don't see you being able to write a whole script. I don't see me be able to import a model that I do within ZBrush and 3D Studio Max, and I've set up the IK. I basically connected all the vertices to the skeleton structure. I do all that stuff, and I don't see me be able to import all that sort of stuff, if that makes any sense, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. I think it's going to give you a higher level of control. It's going to give less clunky controls to somebody like myself. That I'm not messing with I'm not going to mess with a controller in Forge. I'm like I can't wait to get rid of the controller for Forge. Give me a mouse and keyboard all day every day, because that's what I develop on, right? It's not so restricted. It's not clunky. I can just able to navigate all that sort of stuff. And if I can change certain elements of the scripts or plug certain scripts into others, preset scripts, I think those are great. But no, I don't think you're going to be able to rewrite a whole entire campaign or anything like that. Just to be able to do some cool stuff here and there. So like a good example is, say I have a map and it has a day and night cycle, right? Mm-hmm. I can set the value and the speed of that day and night cycle, which is probably just one little field where I change the value of the number, right? That it will go through a whole day and night cycle through a whole match. Does that make sense? To create a mood to that match, right? Where let's say I set up an affection game type, and and set all the rules and small rules and parameters, but it slowly gets dark at night. Let's say I'm able to plug, say, a buff on the affected. In theory, I can connect all the pre-existing code that already exists there. I can make it so I can maybe have a buff to the infected when it gets dark, right? And you can actually have day and night cycles on an affected game mode. You can do things like that, but I don't think you're going to be rewriting code. I think you're going to be taking pre-existing code, plugging it into in interesting little ways, and you're gonna be able to go a little deeper than earlier forges. But I don't think it's not going to be like going into Unreal and making your own game. I don't think it's going to be quite that robust.
I don't know. I tend to think a little differently. I don't think that you could just go into the story mode, of course, and rewrite anything. But I think that the creativity of what people can do within, they could probably tell mini stories to a sense of their own liking. Of course, I think that these are for the people that maybe pay for the version. I don't pay for the Halo version. And I could be wrong, but I think that they're okay, if you want this much access, buy the game, and then you can get more access than maybe
I don't think that benefits them. If it's that level of robust, and why would you have that under a paywall? Because 343 is getting free content by putting that out there.
Well, that is true. That is true.
So for them, it's beneficial for them to be able to, because you don't know where the next great idea comes from, right? In regards to that, but I think it's just going to be a little less untethered. It's just one additional tool it's good for visualizing and how to connect certain things, and give things certain values. But I don't think you're going to be able to redo a level or do a story level or do anything like that. I think well, cool. The match starts and I'm able to use a different camera and I can have a different starting position. But I can have this panorama, say, script from this other thing go here, and it'll have a little more cinematic look. But it's not like I'm going to be able to basically choose where the target is, right? Where the path constraints are going to be, say, on that camera in general. It'd be pre-done path constraints in regards to that. And so they also have to make sure that this stuff conflicts with one another. So they have to make. That's one of the reasons I think it's also taking long, is they have to make it friendly enough for users to be able to use it and learn it, right? Mm-hmm. But not so complicated that they're constantly plugging things into other things and they're just breaking it, if that makes any sense, right? So I think from that perspective, I think that's the reason why it is taking so long. And I'm a little bit concerned at how long it's taking, right? Because it's not in break for launch, right? But it does help 343 get more contact for Halo players out there, if that makes any sense sooner. So if it's like in season 3, then you're probably not gonna see community content till season 5 or season 6 of the game. If you get where I'm going with that. So I mean they got to do what's right for the Forge, but we'll see where it all kind of goes. But I don't think it's gonna be more robust, but I don't think I think people are letting their imaginations run wild with it. So
Okay, all right. I'm disagreeing a little bit. I think it is going to be pretty extensive. But I also think if it's going to be as extensive as I'm thinking and hoping for, that this was one of the reasons why they decided to delay it. Because
why are you hoping for it to be that robust?
well, I mean, just for the creativity of what they can. Like, listen, there's going to be limitations. I'm not saying that like somebody's going to rewrite and make a 20-hour version of somebody just Chief getting just beating the hell out of everybody or whatever. I'm saying that it's like when you look at the maps that they can make, they can have it to where they can do some cinematics, kind of maybe have like make a mode where it's you got some objectives to make it more creative for one team to do something and in order to do some other things, just something crazy and out there where just where people's imaginations can kind of go wild with, because if it's just slightly more defined or have more
Well, you can do a lot with preset scripts where you can change values you couldn't change before and plug them into one another. There's a lot you can do with that. A whole new game? No. But
well, no, I'm not looking at a whole new game, but I'm looking at like different,
well, I'll give an example.
Scenes or something of that nature. Like, makes objectives from scenes that was probably within the game that people can add in and kind of set something different. Like
for example, a good example of this, right? So you've already played it with the beta, right? So from when we were playing territories, in the rules of say territories on a 4v4 map was whoever had the majority would accumulate points, right? And then once you got to a certain number of points through a timer, you won the match, right? That's how it worked on 4v4. But on Big Team Battle, those were the same zones, but you can change. They changed the parameters so you actually had to capture all 3 zones, right? And that's what would put a score on. So you had to wipe in regards to that. And that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about from a script level, right? How you take its zones and the properties of zones and how it changes the scoreboard, essentially. That's something you can do from preset scripts that are already there, and come with new creative game types of kind of the same thing. And so that's where I kind of see where that's going. So I think you're looking at it from a robust, like this is a whole, this is root level access to the engine itself. I don't think it's that. I think it's giving you a higher level access than any Forge does prior to that. It's about making it easier to be able to do certain things, and you can come up with some creative ideas with stuff that's already been done, right? In regards to, but you don't, be nice as much as you can have somebody that's like myself that can probably do a lot more than say the average person. Get involved in something like that, but you want to be able to get people to say like yourself, right? You don't know anything about programming for the most part, right? So be able to play with some ideas and poke around and maybe screw up a little bit, but go through the experience of discovering something that works, right? And then you play around with the idea and you can play with those values. Be able to get you to that point is more, I think, more beneficial for Forge than there is that super high level access where people use it, they get frustrated because they just break it, they don't know exactly where their starting point or what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, there's going to be limitations for sure.
Yeah, there's going to be limitations. So I just don't, and keep in mind, like, anything that encourages people to work on games and make on games, I'm all for it. But I don't think Forge is going to be. Um, I just don't think it's going to be like what people think it is. Because when people see those nodes, they think of Unreal Engine, right? And that's usually like a feature set with Unreal where I'm writing certain code, I can plug it into this code, and that logic well, it has a flow and a communication. Or what I use a lot of times is material shaders, right? Yeah, I have UVW coordinates, and I'm plugging different shaders and different masking layers to create a certain look to a character, right? I just don't see you be able to have that high level of an access to it just because it would just be crazy. Now, I can see them going, hey, you have a level, you have access to say these characters, and you can change certain colors for certain channels. So you make every Spartan green if you wanted to, right? Things like that. So it's a hard thing to describe, but I think you're just opening Pandora's box if you just make it so open that people can just screw up stuff too much, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You want to make it encouraging for young creators to be able to want to use it, if that makes any sense, and be able to create things and be able to talk within a community, like say in the forums on the new, for example, Halo Waypoint, and helping each other out, right? Like I have a big feeling part of Halo Waypoint and the forums that are there, part of that structure, and they don't really show much of it. Um, why they're revamping it. Plus, it's due for revamping, but is to have a community around Forge that can really help each other out, if that makes any sense. And there's a lot of other things too. Like there's going to be multiple people that can work on your Forge project together. You can give permission. So I can have like say we have bot you and me. I can have yeah I have the script idea, and I want to use this tools, and you get say you get lost, right? But with a certain what's available, you want to have a certain aesthetic to something, right? And then bot can go in there and play test it, right? Like that sort of stuff would be really really cool, and I have a feeling that stuff's coming. In regards to Forge, and that alone makes it way more robust than people think it does. So we'll see where it all goes. I mean, I'm sure there's things that are on the table that may end up on the chopping block. To be honest with you, so
Yeah, and listen, I'm waiting to see some of the crazy maps that they'll make, because I mean in Halo 5 there were some really cool maps. I mean the kids playroom, they had
yeah,
a
that was a
map
really
where
cool map.
Mario, like a Mario
There's
level
one
that
that looks like Legos and
right. Yeah,
all that sort of stuff.
then like those crazy races where they had like the you could do it 360s and big loops and go around and like be on a mongoose and everybody's racing against each other. There's a lot of potential that I can see, since I mean you could do that with that Forge on Halo 5, then I can't imagine what they're going to do, what these guys are going to do with this new Forge. But I'm
Yeah,
excited. I want to know. I mean, it's a lot of people don't really talk about Forge like that, except for the people who actually jump in and do stuff with Forge or play on those maps. But yeah, this has got a lot of people talking about it that's not even nowhere near interested in wanting to make something. They just want to see what people can do and how crazy this sandbox can be done. It's gonna be pretty interesting for sure. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Here let's talk about Jim Ryan and what he said in the interview, which um there was something that I didn't catch that you caught. And
well, it's
yeah,
it's it's a little bit down the line, so
right, right.
it's secondhand information. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so basically, Jim Ryan has talked about, like, they want to reach um as many players as they possibly can. That is something totally different than what they were saying at the beginning of the generation, which we already know.
Hmm.
But this is something that last gen was absolutely just wouldn't be thought about, wouldn't be said, because that's just not what PlayStation needs to do. Only thing PlayStation needs to do is just sell consoles and they're absolutely fine. They just keep their games in house. They're
You,
fine. Well,
you're
we
talking
already
about
know that
the
that's
frustration of not reaching to a wider audience outside of PlayStation?
right.
Gotcha.
And so basically, that all
Or
went
just say
out the window.
PlayStation's user base is probably a better way to describe it. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So they're trying to they want to get their user base out there. They want to get
Mm-hmm.
get it larger. They I think they've always kind of knew. I think that they were just riding the wave of how good PlayStation 4 was going. But I think once they knew about uh the expenses of how to make their games, how much they put into their games, that they're going to have to do a little bit more, and they're probably going to have to follow the same type of trend of what Microsoft's been doing since
Well,
2016. So,
to add it to that, like the
mhm,
rising cost for the type of games they're making too, right?
right,
So, and there's been some interesting numbers thrown out there. I've seen them before where like the majority of console gamers is not growing. Like it is. It's just slower. It's not like the rate as it used to be like when we were younger to like PlayStation 2 era, right?
mhm,
It's still growing. It's just slower, right? It's not that rapid growth. And there's other segments of the market that are growing really quickly. Um, to give you an idea, what people don't realize, does anyone think of gaming when they think of Apple products? Most,
only the people that plays on Apple, no, but
yeah,
no,
but
generally
most
no.
most people that are like would classify themselves as gamers or air quotes, right?
Hmm.
People that buy dedicated hardware like consoles, even PC players. I think Apple out profits. If I saw the numbers correctly, it out profits Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo altogether.
I can believe it.
So it's something to think about, right? Like when
Hmm.
you are ahead of a company, like say Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo, right? Do you stay in your own lane, right? Where the number may be shrinking or stagnant or not growing as fast, right? Or do you expand to other markets that are out there? And one of the interesting things I heard out there, then again, I have to go back and confirm it. And I've always kind of wondered this, right? Like, 'cause people always, it doesn't matter who their favorite console is, right? It's Sony, Nintendo, or Microsoft. When they see a certain number, usually it's in the millions, right? They go, "Oh man, that the game did really well because it did 8 million, or 10 million, or 6 million, or 5 million." He kind of alluded to, and this could be on like an average, but he kind of alluded to for them to really be profitable on their games that Sony makes, they have to sell up to 10 million
Yeah.
units, right? And so that kind of flies in the face of what people think is a success or not, right? Because I look at a success as what you spend and what is your return, right? Is your return more than what you spend? And is your return also subsidizing your next project that's going to grow even bigger? That's the way I look at game development. And some stuff you just don't know. You don't know if they got their return or not, right? You just know their sales numbers, and then there'll be some marketing person that'll preach it because it makes them look good to the general public. I think he let it slip that on average they need to sell roughly about 10 million for what they spend on their games, their first party games. And when you're say Sony does well, but they don't really grow, they don't grow their market as much as they should, right? Or could, then you start looking at how much you're spending on a product, right? Your investors are looking at how much you're spending on a product and what is your return. And then they have their buddies are also investors. They'll spend money, say, on a project that costs maybe say a third of a PlayStation title or exclusive Xbox title or Nintendo, any first party title, like a third of that, right? And they're getting way more on their return. That it does compete in that space quite a bit in regards to that. So it is interesting. I think Sony is looking. They're looking towards things I don't think the Sony fan base is, that likes to preach about certain things that Sony does. Um, I don't think they're going to like it, to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to go away from the big first party titles, but they're going to probably be a lot more. They're going to be a lot more involved in mobile. They're going to be a lot more involved in streaming. And I have a feeling something like Game Pass is coming from Sony uh, soon on the horizon, from what I understand. And I have a strong feeling if it goes that direction, you're gonna probably start seeing first party titles day and date. Something to think about. You're definitely gonna see all first party titles eventually go over to PC. That's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, no, that's already happening. I mean, this is the thing. It's like they're spoon feeding their fan base that are the loudest of their
Advocates
community.
for them.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
advocates
yeah,
for
yeah, I
them.
got
Yeah.
you.
So you know, while other gamers they don't care, they just want to play whatever that's coming from PlayStation, and because that's their primary console. But for the people that get into that console war aspect of it, that's not allowed. That's unacceptable. The realities tell different. Like I mean, it has to be acceptable. It's inevitable. It's something that we've been preaching for years
I
before.
I'll be a strong believer in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know if this is ever going to happen. If, like, say, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony all released their first party stuff on each other's consoles,
Mm-hmm.
I bet you the number of the consoles would not change. Same amount of people will buy Xboxes will be the same people that buy Xboxes. Same
Oh,
amount of
I
people that
yeah,
buy PlayStation and will
I can
buy
agree with that.
PlayStation. Like I don't think those numbers will shift, right?
Right.
But a lot more people will be open to certain games, right? I mean, you and I both know people that won't play Horizon Zero Dawn because it's on a PlayStation. Which I think is ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're just not in the market or you don't have the finances to for one, no offense to those people, of course, right? But um, they just won't do it because it's not on the console they chose to buy. And the same thing with, like, I know certain people that won't even try to. Well, it's harder to do on, and that's the interesting conversation, right? Like, if you look on the Xbox side of things, you're like, well, I'm not going to buy an Xbox. Okay, well, do you have a PC? Right? Do you have a way to stream something? You know, like, they start making their games accessible different ways, and it starts to kind of erode away from that paywall to get people to play your games. You know what I mean? I mean, I want gaming to be looked at personally, no different than a movie or music or
Music,
anything like
right?
that. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. No.
because I want more people to enjoy games. I don't want it to to be this crowd where you have to be like it always found the term kind of weird when someone says I'm a gamer, or like you consume entertainment. That's what you're doing, right? And and if you really want to look at someone as a gamer, air quotes, the guy that plays on a touchscreen, the guy girl that streams or plays on her favorite console or PC, they're all gamers too, as well. I mean, you may not put them in the same club as you, but they're gamers, they're enjoying it. So you want to be able to reach out to those people as much as possible. And Sony, I think they're looking at that, and there's stuff they're looking at pretty seriously. And I think Ryan got the position that he's in because he does have a plan. What that plan is and how he executes it, we'll see, right? And how it goes over, we'll see, right? But they're looking beyond their console, and that's the harsh reality of it. And Nintendo's trying to find a way to do that as well, but I think they're a little too stubborn about it, if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
any sense.
but right here, okay, great point with that. Like, let's just look at Metroid, right? It's funny to me
That
because
that game that game looks rad. I actually want to play that
okay,
game so bad right now.
there's a topic. There's a topic that I told you that we got to talk about, which we'll
Yeah.
get back to that. But okay, but just look at Metroid for instance. Like this Metroid is slated to be the best all time selling Metroid of all time, and I don't think that there was any. From what I heard, that there was no Metroid game that sold over 3 million. So this and anything that's been coming from Nintendo here lately that's been one their exclusive, it's been hitting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million easily. So just for that to be said, like Nintendo has been so in their own zone that nobody questions them about anything anymore. Like they're just there. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm saying, so what's going on with you, One Bad Mother? We was just talking about Halo, by the way, before you came on.
We'll stop since you're here.
Yeah. We can go back and talk about Halo again if you want to. Anyway, so, but yeah, no, it's so. But no, I do think that Nintendo is going to loosen up a little bit because they know that. But I think right now their success with the Switch, they're fine. They're already, maybe when they get to the
Well, I
next
mean,
version
to
or
be
whatever, they're
fair,
gonna
all
find. Yeah,
platforms are fine.
right,
They'll still be profitable. Like if Microsoft wasn't doing all this stuff, they would still be profitable,
right.
right? But there is this weird issue of rising cost of game development, and people keep saying it doubles each generation. I call a little bullshit about last generation, this generation. There's nothing different that we're doing in the process as far as pipelines go.
It should be going down
It's become more efficient. Yeah, it's become more efficient. Like so that's a little bombastic out there when people are saying that shit. Um, but it is going up, right? Because people that have been around for a bit, like to keep core talent, well, you're gonna have to pay them more, right, over time. And if you want to keep core talent, you have these other markets that are competing for that talent, right? So somebody wants a program can probably make more money doing their own app than they are probably working for a big AAA studio. That's just a harsh reality. Somebody like myself, I've gotten offers to work in Hollywood multiple times, and I've turned them down for my own studio, right? So, like, that's that is something that's out there, right? They're competing for that dollar and competing for that space in order to keep talent and keep games flowing out the door, right? So, those are the costs that are going up. So they have to obviously address that sort of stuff. So they have to reach a wider audience. That's just kind of the harsh reality. And if you ignore it, you'll slowly make less and less profit. You'll have less and less investors, and the games won't be at the level that I think people are pushing for.
Right.
What people categorize themselves as gamers, right? You'll have less and less impressive games over time, right? That generational leap that people keep looking for. I mean, that shit's gone.
See, now this is pretty interesting to me because like when you go into that and what Jim Ryan was saying about and I didn't pay attention to that point. That's why I wanted to talk about it because I was like, whoa, what? And so 10 million, that would explain what happened to Days Gone because Days Gone would be considered to be really successful in the scheme of things, which kind of just tells you what people don't really understand and don't know. And it almost seems to me that maybe PlayStation is kind of going the same route of what Square Enix does with their games. Like they was talking about Tomb Raider, for instance. Tomb Raider sold however many million, but then yet they always said that it wasn't profitable. And some people are like, how is that not profitable? But if they have a set price or set
depends on what they invest,
right? Because people don't think about the marketing and other things involved with paying for that budget for that game.
Well, that's the conversation I've always tried to push towards, right? Like, because people always are like, "Oh, my console's winning because this product is done really well because they sell X millions of dollars, right? And mine sold more millions than your millions." I don't know which one the winner is. My answer is how much did they spend and how much did they profit? Simple as that. In regards to that, let's say you gave a bunch of rookie game developers a chance and they make it a kick-ass title. You didn't have to pay those guys as much. You may not have to sell as many to make a profit, right? That's just how it turns out to be. So, I think it's very interesting. But I think they have, with Sony, they have a certain target, right? Like they have something in mind, like, and I think that on average is they want each one of their titles to sell at least 10 million, right? And that serves multiple purposes for them, right? That's maybe the break-even point for them. That also will help contribute to expand their their user base, all sorts of different stuff. Because first party serves a purpose of growing their services, right? In this case, be their console as of right now, and maybe a little bit of PlayStation Now, but that's really about it when it comes down to it. So we'll see where their heads at, and the next year or two. But changes are coming on Sony's side of things.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. It's been happening. They just spoon feeding their fan base. That's all that is.
And don't be shocked. Like if something doesn't sell 10 million, they close down a studio.
Well, I mean,
don't be shocked by it. Like if you don't see any other avenues, like they're not expanding to basically PC. They're not. I mean, Jim Ryan's saying it right there. Like basically, if they're not expanding to PC, they're not expanding to say mobile or whatever their roadmap or the plan is. Because I don't know what their actual plan is, right? But they're not expanding into those regions and trying to capture a bigger audience. Then the likely, there's a higher risk for each one of those games that they're spending money on, right? And so investors are going to look at it different ways in regards to. And Yobi, you always say I don't call you out when you say what's up, and you know what? What's up, man? I hear you.
With you,
I see.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to get done, so I was gonna say what's up to Yobi.
I got at least 15 witnesses. I said hi, so and then, I don't want to hear.
And then One Bad Mother made a really good point by something that we've talked about and discussed before. It's like the value of IPs is based on engagement and not mind share, not how many copies were sold. That's one of the less talked about benefits of making games accessible through subs in all devices. That's the whole point right there. When you think about it, it's like,
well, I think
PlayStation should have been on this gravy train a long time ago.
It's not a gravy train. It's lowering risk, right? So that's what I keep saying. Like when you spend money for a business, you are taking a risk. Mm-hmm. And the question is, how are you going to make that money back, right? Like, okay, you want to sell products. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that, right? But what the problem is, right? If you don't have a reason for them to keep coming, why would they spend there, right? It's like the brick and mortar business model, right? Like you put certain things on sale to get people in the door, right? And you may break even, but you're hoping they also buy. For example, if Xbot was going to store, he goes, "Oh man, hot dogs are on sale. I'm gonna buy some hot dogs."
Right? I was gonna say Xbox getting a lot of love. Xbox 448 getting a lot of love from you though. But
yeah. He's got to make his hot dog water tea, man. He said Oscar Mayer's on sale, man. He's gonna go there, but he's like
all beef.
He's like, man, King Mega and Don, we're talking about that mustard. I'm gonna pick up some mustard. Mustard ain't on sale, right? That's how you make some profit, right? Yeah, we have to take it easy on the boy. He can't handle hot sauce right now.
Oh man, he can't. But so this is why I have to say that it is a gravy train for this reason. Okay, right now it's really hard to get a PlayStation 5, and
yes, it's hard to get anything right now,
except for
Switch.
Series S. Well, no, it's kind of hard to get a Series.
I can go into any store here and I get. Switch has never been on shortage out here in Utah.
Oh, it's been crazy shortage out here.
Even at launch, you can always buy a Switch.
No,
They're always
available. It tripped me out because one time I was trying to get the Series X. There were people that was coming in for PlayStation 5s, and then there was people that was in there and everybody that was in there that was looking for a Series X or a PlayStation 5 looked at these group of people that was coming in and saying, "You got a Nintendo Switch?" And they're like, "No, we're sold out." And everybody's like, "What the hell are you? A Switch is not available. Like, what's happening?" So yeah, it's been a shortage out here, but
no, Switches are always been readily available.
But
for sure out here. So
the Series S has been it's been pretty much you can get one fairly easy, but
that's interesting because that's still hard to get over here. So
really?
Certain regions are doing differently. I mean, that's just how it is, right? Like certain hardware is more popular in certain regions of the country. Like people don't think of it that way. Does that make sense? Like you say Florida might be really popular with PS5s, right? But say you go to Tennessee and for whatever reason Switch is hot, right? And that's just there's certain regions that do a little bit better than others when it comes to certain platforms for whatever reason. So
so back to the point was that it's was I fixed because I think I didn't put the gameplay in the loop. Okay, anyway,
I told you, man, you had to click that loop. No, it's loading. It's got the little
I changed it.
It's infinite. No, it's infinite footage. That has a little loading screen thing on the lower left hand corner for your gameplay.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
So it's just recorded a black
I
screen. That's all
I
I did.
I changed it up. It didn't matter. So,
Okay.
I was tired of letting people see me getting wrecked in Battlefield and in Halo because that was the
Oh,
only
was it
stuff that could
that
get
night?
recorded. Yeah, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like I was like, man, yeah. It was that night when I was just getting destroyed in both games
Oh, we
and
could have
the
said it was
best gameplay.
Xbox gameplay. I don't know why
You know
you're.
what? I should have said it. I should have said this is
Yeah,
PK's
yeah,
gameplay. That was PK Live's
yeah,
gameplay. Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
even though it said K Mega, I'll just let him borrow my Xbox. Anyway, so um, that to me is right here. Just think about this: day and date, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Kena, Deathloop. Well, Deathloop did come on PC, but okay, and just say Ghost of Tsushima, the director's cut, and
Hmm.
the other the director's cut for well, I think that's going to be on PC too. But just let's just well, no, I don't know if it's going to be on PC or not. I'm sure it might the Kojima game might be on PC director's cut because it is on PC now, so it might. But let's just say Ghost of Tsushima, those games right there. And then if you want to put the All Stars game as well, you put all those games to be day and date on PC. They could have made up. They could have made up for, and even Miles Morales. Like Demon Souls. All those games had the potential to get close, if not get there, or get close to some point. Now, Returnal, I don't know because Returnal, when they were saying it when it came out with like 500 and some thousand copies or whatever sold, and I don't know how many is now. Don't care really, but not to be disrespecting, just saying I don't care about sales numbers like that.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't affect you. I gotcha.
yeah, it doesn't affect me. But just think about those games being day and date on PC, and now having the shortage. They could definitely recoup that, and by the time that they get everything, when they get the PlayStation 5s up and running for people to buy them, then that's even extra profit for them. And so that to me just it blows my mind that anybody would ever think about like, or even better, like if they just sit there and they was like, okay, well, we're looking at this situation right now since we have this shortage. How about we wait maybe about 3 to 6 months and then, or let's say 90 days, and then we start putting out our newer titles on PlayStation Now. That's genius. That's fantastic. That's going to bring people into your ecosystem, and for people who's already there, they're going to stay there. So I understand that those content creators out there that try to tell you that PlayStation shouldn't do that. That's asinine because it just makes too much sense. Just look at the benefit of games like Sea of Thieves for Xbox. That's PlayStation don't have those type of games like that. And you look and see once a game like Forza and Sea of Thieves jumped over to the PC, and look at where Sea of Thieves is now. And they just keep adding content, keep adding content. It's just crazy what Xbox
I
is
will
doing. And
argue
they can,
I
yeah,
will argue
but
Sea of Thieves is the best games as a service game out there. Period. I think they managed it. I think a lot of
it's
people
one of them.
criticize them.
I would say
Well,
Apex is definitely up there.
I
Fortnite,
think
of
I think
course.
they've done better than them, and I'll say why. And
Okay, you got to
here's the
explain
reason.
that because
Yeah,
their numbers.
here's
I
my
don't know if
thought
their
process.
numbers is up there on theirs, but
No, it has nothing to do with numbers.
oh, okay, okay,
What I'm talking about
okay.
has to do with the perspective of the user base that engages with that game, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
with even though it was light on content, we all know that game was very light on content when it released, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But no one complains about the things they add to the product. They don't change anything, they add things. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a game like Destiny, you take a game like Apex, you take a game like, let's say, Fortnite, right? With every iteration that they release, there is pushback, there is blowback, right? And what's interesting about Sea of Thieves, and it's just a use case, if you just look at it, no one complains about them adding content on that game. But every other games as a service game, people complain about the content they add because they take away from something else.
That is true. That is true. You don't hear too many
It's
people
very unique,
giving
and
any
it's
blowback at Sea
something
of
to
Thieves.
think about. It's something to think about. It's not the type of game that I'm going to be releasing because I don't have the resources for something like that. But it is something for to think about. Like, as games as a service, are you better? Ask a genuine question: is it better to release light, as long as the concept is unique and cool enough that you can always add to it and keep people continuously engaged into that product throughout the life cycle, the whole entire product throughout the whole thing, right? Like, Sea of Thieves doesn't really like. It's interesting, like when you look at user bases, like a big release, sometimes they'll release something new and it'll be hot for like a month or two, right? And then it has a real steep drop off after that, and sometimes that drop off is lower than what they were prior to the release of the new content because it frustrates certain people that like that game, right? That doesn't really happen with Sea of Thieves. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, that is
Just
something to think about. No,
something to compare.
I never really thought about that, but yeah, no, there's always people complaining about something, but it's almost like for Sea of Thieves, their fan base is just happy that there is more content, and even when they switched over to where you can perk to microtransactions, there's nobody that's been complaining about that either. So it's and it's not like pay to win or anything like that. It's just all cosmetics and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I have not seen anybody talk bad about that game. And then, I mean, there'll be detractors that will tell you, well, nobody plays that game. Well, you better look again because
that's not true.
Sea of Thieves is smashing it. And matter of fact,
man, every time we stream that game, you and I, right? Like, it's always sometimes hard for us to get a group together because you like to roll with 4, right? But every time we play that game, it's almost always we don't do it very often, very regularly, but it's almost very often our most viewed streams, right? Like people love that game on all different levels, which is awesome. So
which is awesome. I just need a full team to just get to it.
I know. Some people don't want to put up with our shenanigans, man.
Right. You're demanding. You're demanding. You're crazy. You want to put people in cannons and shoot them out and things like that.
Listen, it's all part of the experience.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, no, we do need to finish that.
And I've been trying to keep us on track, but it's not happening.
It's definitely not happening. We have not been on track for a while. We started there for a little bit, and then next thing you know, boom, we back to doing what we always do. So, but yeah, no, just my last point on this is that PlayStation's had all the opportunities in the world to go forth with this. I think now they're starting to see the light, and another reason behind that is because they hired an Apple executive or marketer. I'm sorry, not executive, but somebody from Apple's marketing team for mobile, which means that they're going to go probably a little bit hardcore. There's people that really thought that PlayStation never had mobile games. They had God of War, they had Uncharted, they had.
I remember that whole time when I was sending you everything from the Google Play Store. It's just how it is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I think they're trying to figure out what's, how to really tap in that market and what is their user base like and who do they cater to, right? They're still trying to figure it out, of course, right?
Well, one of their biggest games is a mobile game.
Mm-hmm.
They also have that game on PlayStation, but they also have a mobile version of that game, and that was generating a whole bunch of money. I remember talking about it on GRG that like somebody lost. They spent up to, for how much? They about $7,000 to $17,000 on that game because of the microtransactions was in it. And like it was a record, but like that game is like PlayStation's most profitable game, and it's a mobile game. So obviously they had to be looking at that. And then of course Microsoft is going to start getting more into the mobile thing. So it is, and Nintendo has already been in there. So so maybe that's one of the reasons why they've been holding off on PC. But I look at this. I don't know.
Nintendo's backed off a bit, which is a little interesting. Like they were kind of on, and then they kind of like, and then backed off. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, but Nintendo is just killing it right now with what they're doing, and that console is I know by now it's giving them tons of profit. Mm-hmm. So they're just doing. Nintendo is just it's amazing what everybody writ Nintendo off. Even I was skeptical, like I don't know if Nintendo can come back from this one. They might turn into another Sega after the Wii U situation. And they proved a whole bunch of people wrong. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, PlayStation need to get into gear.
Yeah, they're staying alive.
Follow the trend, because if not, you're definitely you're going to be looking real salty when you see Microsoft and and others just blow past you financially. But PlayStation Sony's too smart for that, so they just don't need to be listening to those crazy ass fanboys. All right, so let's talk about Obsidian. Uh, and this information was pretty interesting. And I don't know, you might have heard something from the rumorsville of maybe who this potential person that, or I should say person, but publisher that tried to buy Obsidian or acquire Obsidian before they went ahead and joined Microsoft. But yeah, that was pretty interesting. I didn't know that they had any other takers, but I'm sure because they're a talented studio. But this was the interesting part of this is that they turned down another publisher, and the reason why is because this publisher wanted them to work on another game or a game that they already had in the oven, but they needed some more developers to do that, and so they were
It's
basically
kind of
like,
swallow up the studio.
yeah,
Basically, is the idea.
yeah, so basically it's like, and then Microsoft came and just says, no, you can make whatever you want to make. We just want you to be a part of the team and help you with the funding with those games. And so I'm saying, all right, we cool. So who do you think could have been that studio? A lot of people are saying EA. A lot of people are saying, something, maybe Amazon with that New World game or something like that, because that game is kind of like up their wheelhouse. So who do you think that studio could have been?
I think it was Microsoft. I mean, Sony.
Come on, don't say that, because don't
Well,
say that. Callie Rex is
well,
gonna be upset with you.
man. Well, there's a rumor. There was a rumor just prior to that this is all rumor mill. Keep in mind, your rumor mill is different than my rumor mill, right?
Right.
We've talked about this, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times I have to figure out what the community is saying from you. And a lot of times you try to see what a lot of developers are saying from me. But this is one of those ones that kind of lined up, right? So in my circles, that kind of got thrown around. And then Microsoft was being thrown around at roughly around the same time, like pretty close to one another. And then you're like, well, who's really buying them? Right? Just didn't know, right? But we knew they were up for sale. We just didn't know who was buying them. And then obviously when you have the two big platform providers fighting over for a studio, rumor true or not, that creates a lot of infighting within the gaming community, right? So I think honestly it may have been Sony in regards to that. So I wouldn't be surprised.
That would be nuts if it was Sony, because like, what game would it have been? Like, I mean,
who knows what they would wanted to hire him for? Who knows?
Huh. That would be very interesting, because
and who knows if it's even true, right?
Right,
like that's the thing.
It's
like
rumors,
it's like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon right now. We're talking about it, but yeah, that was the rumors that I was hearing in regards to that. So
speaking of that, I didn't get your thoughts about this, because because this would definitely been something that we talked about last week or whatever, that we were beforehand. Like, okay, so Colin from he big he's was with IGN, but he got his own show now, whatever. But he was basically talking about Microsoft, really doing a horrible job, really at owning studios, just kind of letting them just die, or just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I know that, like, the track record of certain studios or things like that for Microsoft is not looked good. But
they have a mixed pass.
Right.
But I mean,
but they're making it seem like that right now.
What platform provider doesn't have that though?
Right. No, I mean, PlayStation, Nintendo, everybody has that. But the thing I want to ask you though is that, do you feel that these new acquisitions from the Initiative to Obsidian to inXile, all the rest of them, do you think that Ninja Theory, do you think that they are in a good place right now, where this isn't the old Microsoft of old or Xbox of old, because it's under different management? Or do you think that this will somehow, one of these studios might have some issues and maybe bounce, or get blown up eventually, because of maybe Microsoft might not manage them properly? Do you think that's a possibility?
I don't. Well, from what obviously I only hear so much behind
Right.
the grapevine, but I think people are pretty happy overall in regards to that. So they have a lot more access. They have a lot more autonomy to work on different projects other than just their studio. They they're part of like this, part of whatever independent studio they want to be part of, but they can also be part of much more if they wanted to, if that makes any sense. And so, and then these studios are getting the funding that they need, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, eventually I'm going to have to buy a mocap suit, right? For my own personal game, right? And imagine if you had like some older, out of date mocap suit that will never upload the data to the PC and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It would suck, right? It would suck.
Stank.
It'd be
Yeah.
frustrating. Yeah, it'd be stanky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be bad.
he let
Got a
Stinky
couple holes
George,
in it. Yeah.
let
Yeah.
Stinky George wear that shit all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you know, but let's say like well, if we get this mocap, because there's different mocap suits. I'm just using something in my own wheelhouse. There's some mocap suits now that don't use ping pong balls, and you don't need all these different cameras. That it's all just basically accelerometers on all the different joints. I can now do things with that mocap suit that I couldn't do before, and you can present the idea, and a lot of times they're getting the funding for that sort of stuff, but they're executing on the things they're asking for, right? So, as a developer, like at the end of the day, you just want to create kick-ass art, if that makes any sense, right? And remove as many barriers as possible to be able to create that sort of stuff. And I think Matt Moody is like, I every time I hear about that guy, it's always good things. In regards to that behind the scenes. So I think they have a good structure, and I think they've always worked under a perspective of Microsoft just kind of either don't make too much noise. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I think the best analogy I ever heard of is like, imagine the band that plays in the basement. He doesn't want to wake up his parents. Does that make sense? You maybe make some kick-ass music, but you can't really jam out, right? And now they're at their point where they can really jam out. And I think Microsoft's not only a good point, a good perspective of all these studios they acquired, but they don't have a narrow view of what gaming is. Does that make sense? They have a very broad view of what gaming is and what it can mean to a lot of different gamers out there. And so they just look at it as one form of entertainment they can specialize in. That's very unique. So they're going for it. I think it's great in regards to that. So,
And another thing that these studios want to be with Microsoft. It's not where like they're, Double Fine has been wanting to be independent forever, but all of a sudden they just decided like, look, man, and I'm sure the Double Fine had many other suitors. Like all these other studios has definitely had other suitors, but they
I'm small
chose
time, and I've had people
Yeah.
ask me to leave what I'm doing to go work for them.
Yeah. So
Right, like anything from the movie industry to the game industry. Like, all I had to do is get my start, but once I got my start, like the opportunities start pouring in. So, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that, like in regards to that. And what does those conversations mean? Like, were they really seriously on the table? They have something written, they kind of slip it over to them, sort of thing, or
right.
was it like, hey man, what do you think ever thinking about working on a co-project, and like they met at GDC and they just kind of ran into one another? You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Two executives that say do two different companies, right? So who knows what those conversations were? They're talented though, and I'm glad they get in the funding they want, and then they can see from there. I think, as far as Colin's perspective of it, I think everybody's entitled to what they want to say, but I don't. He has a hard time selling me on the idea of what he's trying to say out there. To be honest with you, considering we're just now rounding the corner where we can start to see the fruit of the labors of all these acquisitions, right? So, and then none of these studios are being shut down; they're growing.
Right.
So it's really hard to say. So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And shout out to Stinky George that won his mocap suit back from Don.
Oh hell no!
Just got to put that in there.
Man, I'm gonna get myself a new mocap suit. I'm building an area where I can actually do mocap downstairs. So
Oh,
like,
man.
yeah, I'm gonna wait until that's built before before I buy a new suit. So.
Oh wow! So okay, that's just funny to me. Stinky George, shout out to Stinky
And
George.
yeah, you're not wrong. They can get a little funky.
Oh, of course, man. Them things are tight. Like, I mean, come on. Like, and you doing all types of moving and
It's like sharing
gyrating and
underwear,
stuff.
man.
It's
It ain't
crazy.
right.
Yeah.
It ain't right.
It isn't. But they're making a lot of money doing it, and we definitely appreciate them for what they do because you see the end product when you play in the game. It's pretty dope. So One Bad Mother says he says Matt Booty comments are interesting. Same outside narrative questions whether the hands-off approach will work. No, I think it will. There's no question. Because what makes somebody happy, I think to me, is having the freedom to know that whatever that your art is, that you could just express it how you want to. Now, and then you got and the one thing about Game Pass, which makes Game Pass so relevant in these times, is that they can take those chances because people will give those games a chance now. Instead of throwing that game out there saying, all right, well, let this go ahead and go crazy with your creative freedom. But then we got to slap a $60, $70 price tag on it. That's not going to work, especially with all these.
Think simpler than that. Any business you guys have ever been involved in, like going to work, that sort of thing. What happens when somebody micromanages too much? It gets in the way of getting the job done at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
If you drill down and you start micromanaging too much, the person that's micromanaging is the problem.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So, he's not hands off. He's just like, what are the cool things you're doing? How can I help make these happen? I would like to be able to get this time frame. What would I need to help you get that time frame? And he's looking at it from that perspective in regards to that. So he's letting these studios, and a lot of Microsoft's, I think, approach is these studios have their own culture, right? Double Fine is different than, let's say, Obsidian, right? So they're not trying to turn Double Fine into Obsidian or turn Obsidian into Double Fine. They've made those mistakes before. That doesn't work, if that makes any sense, right? So you let those studios be the type of studios they are. They are successful at the products they make because of the management and the culture within the studios. The question is, what roadblocks do they have to be able to fully realize some of their dreams? And so less things are on the cutting table. Things are released in a more reasonable time frame, right? And they have that polish that people are looking for. Does that make sense? And and I mean, take what is it, Psychonauts?
Right.
That game is freaking phenomenal.
It's a great game.
It's a perfect example of everything that Microsoft does coming together, right? Taking unique talent. They didn't change who he was. They just allowed him to polish the hell out of that game, if you know what I mean, and let it be more of what it is. Because it's a weird kind of kooky game, right? Like, imagine going to a board meeting and trying to pitch Psychonauts to a publisher. Right? I don't see that conversation going over too well, if you get where I'm going with that, right? But they have a history. He's a talented person, and having that hands-off approach allows a game like Psychonauts to exist. And yes, I know the history of there was a crowdfunding and all that other stuff prior to that. I understand all that, but you get what I'm saying about Microsoft. That Psychonauts wouldn't have been as polished as it is today. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like, the GoFundMe help get it started, but at the end of the day, Microsoft's piggy bank made it a more polished game. And if you ever finish that game, you look at the credits, it's not a small team.
There's tons of people. Yeah,
I've never seen credits go for so damn long, man.
Oh man, when I beat Scarlet Nexus, that was a pretty damn long.
But you get where I'm going. You get where I'm going.
Yeah,
like,
you would not expect for a game like that to have that many people behind it. Like, that was incredible.
And that will forever be a great title that's in their Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you ever, like, someone comes to Game Pass and they haven't even heard of it until like 3 years from now, right? Mm-hmm. And you're talking to them on Xbox, like, man, have you ever played Psychonauts? Or if they don't even have Game Pass, they have an Xbox or a PC or whatever it is, then They get Game Pass, they try it out, and like, damn, that's good. And then they try a couple other things on Game Pass. Damn, that's it. Like it has a compounding effect. Does that make sense? And a lot of times people want to pitch Xbox is the Netflix game, and I call bullshit. Xbox is turning into the Disney of gaming. They're acquiring as much as they can, and they're holding on to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that stuff will never leave, right? Unlike some of these deals with Netflix, that stuff sometimes leaves, right? No, this stuff ain't leaving, right? So,
well, they'll tell you like third party or second party, but yeah, no, the first party ain't going nowhere. Yeah, right.
Yeah, they got a good plan. I mean, that's just what it boils down to.
Oh so yeah, no doubt. I know, I totally agree. I think that it's one of those things where Sony was known for that type of freedom, is now kind of buckling down because of they want to make the money that they want to make, and they want to be profitable for these games, especially they want to get that profit back. So while Microsoft on the other hand is like, look, man, they got money going all over the place. They're getting money from the government, they're getting money from Azure, they're getting money from everywhere. All what I'm saying, they even so they can take a lot more risks and then see what sticks and what's not. And I just look at it from the standpoint of where the more and more people find out more about Game Pass, the more and more people are. I mean, like last night, Tax came in. We were playing Fight Night.
Yeah,
and he came in.
Tax is a type of gamer that likes all platforms, but I can tell you favors PlayStation. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's awesome.
And so comes in there and he started talking about.
He was talking about Game Pass. It was interesting hearing his perspective because he's not involved in the gaming community.
Fight Night. He came in on Fight Night was talking, but he came in when that was a Friday night. Yeah, we was playing Battlefield.
I think if we're playing Battlefield or something like that. But regardless, he's a PlayStation. It's a preferred platform. That's right. Right. And he doesn't get involved in the gaming community. Like, he doesn't understand. Like, if you try to explain to him, like, somebody said something on Twitter, he doesn't know. He's kind of like me in that sense, in a lot of ways, right? He doesn't know what's really going on as far as all that stuff goes, or those opinions that comes from kind of a group mindset. He just knows that, like, he likes the game, he prefers this platform, but man, he just goes, man, Game Pass is in a league of its own. Yeah, and he recognizes it.
Right.
In regards to that, and I think he didn't even say something along the lines. I wish Sony would do something like this.
Right. Yeah. He's like, I don't know why Sony does that. What doesn't do, and that's
how he worded it exactly.
Yeah, right. So. And that's, to me, is the thing to where people are not going to avoid value. They're just not. And the more and more they start seeing these certain games, they might not like anything from Xbox, but if you drop that third party game that they've been wanting to play, and or just say more than one. Let's just say about 3 or 4, right? Because it's just going to take it's paying $300, paying $500 for a new console, or building up a PC or something like that is not cheap. So it's not like that person from PlayStation is going to just gradually jump over for one game. Now it has to be a special game, but. But let's say multiple games, and then they're like, man, hold on, wait a minute. This game is $70, man, and this game over here, you only got to pay $10 a month. And even though you're paying more money down the road, but then everything else that's a part of Game Pass just makes the pot more sweeter. People aren't going to keep avoiding that, no matter how much of a PlayStation. My son, like I said, he was a diehard PlayStation fan last gen. And the next thing you know, you got an extra Xbox? No, I ain't got no extra Xbox for you, sucker. You over there on the other side. I would give him a hard time or whatever. But then, I just gave him the Xbox One X, and every time I look and check him out, he's on some with Game Pass, or he's playing League of Legends. He loves him some League of Legends. I don't even know. I don't know. But he's that, or he's playing something from Game Pass. And that right there is, because I was telling him about it, and I was like, hey, man, you want to check out Game Pass? Well, I already know about it. I already subscribed. Oh, so
that's why he asked you.
Yeah, that's why he asked about it. Yeah, you got an extra one. So that right there, so Sony has to do that. Sony has to do something. But back to the original topic, there, I do agree. There's a lot of people that's been questioning about if Matt Booty can handle all of these studios, because they're eventually going to grab some more studios? Can he handle all of the ins and outs when it comes to all these games that's going to be releasing?
I think that would
Bethesda's going
create
to be fine.
I think they'll create a new position if they need to,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Like so maybe he'll have a higher kind of level of perspective of what's going on, and then someone else will manage something, and they've had that before, right? Like, Matt works with other people within Microsoft. They're not directly at the studio sometimes, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there are other people behind the scenes. They're not known. They're not talked about. And interesting thing about Matt, he tries to stay quiet. He keeps to himself. He just does his job, and he's cool with that. So it's not about getting credit for him. It's about making that mark out there in gaming. I think that's his thing. So
well, yeah, and that's
I think he'll be doing fine. And then if it grows too much out of perspective, there's a lot of money riding on all this stuff. So they'll have to create new they'll create additional positions or additional restructure.
But see,
for the growth, and that's fine. I mean, even Sony can be known for doing that. I mean, they change the higher up structure all the time in regards to that, so they'll be fine. I mean, both companies will be fine.
Well, no, that's not.
Sometimes there's growing pains.
There's people that's asked that question. No, my point is that I'm thinking overall is that I think that if he's giving these companies this creative freedom, he doesn't really and he's not as hands on with that. Then he doesn't have to have a lot of people on his team because they're going to manage themselves unless something goes wrong to where there's a game delay or something like that. That's where I think that this, because I've you hear that he's a stickler on things coming out on time, the way that they're supposed to come or whatever. But
but the thing,
I think that he would be a lot easier when the companies are kind of governing themselves.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm hearing from him. Yeah, he may be a stickler about things on time. Nothing wrong with that. But he's very open in two-way conversation on why we're not going to hit stuff on time. Does that make sense? What can I do to help you? He's there for you, right? He's not like the parent that like yells at their kids for getting a bad grade but never helps out with the homework, right? Like that's not who he is, right? From what I understand, he's the guy that provides the means, so we can meet these dates and these future dates along those lines, right? And so he seems to be very, very open to all that sort of stuff. So I just don't think people should be overly worried about that. I mean, the only person that should be worried about that is honestly Phil Spencer, his boss, right? So in regards to that, and it seems like everything I hear from anybody that's been inquiry, like it's the same story. They're hiring like crazy. There's not a single studio that hasn't stopped hiring, hasn't stopped growing, and then they're acquiring more studios. And then when they're behind on projects, they're like, "Hey man, like, what are you having troubles with?" Like, "Oh, it's this." You know what? I know this person at this studios. They just told me about this other cool thing they have that might be able to be applicable to your situation, right? And then you'll call in the troops, right, to help the other team out, to help hit their deadlines. And then that's what Matt has been doing. That's what Matt's been managing behind the scenes on all this stuff. And I hear nothing but good things about him. I haven't heard a negative thing about him by anyone that works in the industry.
That's a really good thing to hear. All right, so only thing I need to see my Killer Instinct come out. You know what I'm saying? That's all I need. I just need to just show me something. That's right, because I know it's coming, but I just need to know. I just gotta
anyway, you think so, huh?
I know so. I know it's coming. Anyway,
yeah,
that's another topic for another day.
Goes, I feel in my loins, and that's when you think something's happening, right?
I feel it all. Yes, I do.
Deep down in your loins,
deep down in the loins. Okay, so last topic, and that is something that and this goes back to what I was talking about, about Metroid, about Metroid Prime, about the game.
That new Metroid looks so good.
What was it? Yang Sword 7. I probably butchered it. I apologize. And just other games, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you first, Don. What defines a quality game? Because I'm looking at people out here on the internet, as usual, talking about Metroid, right? Like you're just saying how awesome that game looks, right? But they're just saying, how is it that you pay $60 for this type of title when you look at something like God of War and and people complain about, well, why would you pay $70 for that type of title? I see people that would talk about the game that I've been showing off here lately. And like they would look at it and be like, oh man, that's look like a lower tier type of game. But I'm having a blast with it. I'm almost done with it. And just so forth and so forth. Like we always hear people talking about what's quality and what isn't. Like people are going as far as downgrading Back for Blood on the PlayStation version because the user score because it's not considered quality. So what is a quality game to you? What is the definition of a quality game to you?
Quality game is a game that keeps me engaged and to a point where I don't recognize the flaws in the product. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, every game's flawed. There's not a single one that's released is perfect, right? Some are more, you could say, perfect than others, but not perfect, right? What's interesting is if a game that continually engages me in a way that I don't think about those flaws, right? Which get me to disengage with the game or not be soaked in or forget, oh my God, I'm just playing another game and going through the motions, right? That is what I would consider a quality title, right? So, and there's everything will help out to that, right? Like, graphics, people keep saying graphics don't matter. Graphics do matter. Depends on how it's implemented, right?
Mm-hmm.
And graphics are one of those things that sucks you into the game. Music's one of those things. Control's one of those things. Everyone always wants to say this has to have this and it can't have this, or like try to create some special formula. There is no formula. If it keeps you engaged and you forget about everything else around you except for what you're doing and you are not distracted by the flaws of the product, that to me is a good game, if that makes any sense. And that is what I'm always shooting for as a gamer, is to be drawn in regards to, I don't want to have that detachment. Like we talked about, like how I feel about the art style of the Spartans, like in Halo, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I was getting down to is, that sort of stuff pulls me out of the experience, right? So I don't get as much enjoyment. It doesn't mean the gunplay is not good, right? Doesn't mean this equipment piece is not fun or this gun's not fun to use in that product, right? But it is something that does distract me. Does it totally distract me? No, not 100%. But it does play a factor in how I experience it. Let's say the audio is shitty in a game, right? Voice cuts out, or say it's a game where some sneaking behind you and the audio is not working correctly, and then you get killed because of it. That's something that would pull me out of the game, if that makes any sense. Let's say the hit detection on a game is really, really bad. That's something that would pull me out of that experience, right? So it's things that pull out that experience, but a good game it molds all those things together and pulls me in, that I don't think about anything else. I don't, there is no walls to my room. There's just the glow of my TV and me gaming, right? And you can even see when I stream, right? You can tell when it's a game I really, really like, because I forget there's a chat. If you get where I'm going with that,
Yeah.
if I really like a game, I forget about everything else that's going on, and that's one of the reasons why I do streaming is you give someone that raw experience of what it is for a gamer in that sense. So it's interesting, and so I think certain people try to justify it by a certain style of graphics or a certain style of this or certain this and that, and I don't think it's that easy. I think everyone's got their own excuses they have for certain games, where they give certain things a pass, and then other things they're extremely critical. I don't think what one definitions of a good game versus another is not the same per gamer. It's not. But I would say, if I was going to say something that really applies to me, and I think it would apply to more gamers as well, not universally, but as universal as you can get, is the experiences that make you forget that you're all the flaws of the game. Like you're just engaged and you're engrossed. And I think that's a definition I think as gamers we can universally agree on. So
Right. Yeah. No. And that's the same thing how I look at it too. Like that's why I can play any and everything, and then just get if I can just get immersed into it. Um, I'm with it, and that's why like sometimes like some of the more popular like games that supposedly like game of the years and things like that, and I might not be into them. Like I mean I can't I will never knock a person that loves Dark Souls. I just can't get into them because of the gameplay aspect of it. I just can't
Yeah,
stand it.
that's a good that's a good
Yeah.
example of it, right? Like where
Right.
like not the controls are bad or anything like that. It's not like I haven't played hard games before, right? But I'll play something like Dark Souls, and when I make a mistake, it takes so long for that mistake to play out. I'm
Mm-hmm.
reminded I made a mistake, and I just have to wait and watch myself die for a long period of time. That
Right.
draws me out of the game. Is
Mm-hmm.
it necessarily a bad mechanic? No. Does it apply to everyone? Absolutely not. But does it break me from wanting to continue to play the game? Yeah, and it's not because it's not because it's hard. It's because that process when I make a mistake is so damn long. It just there's no appeal to me for that something like that. So everyone's just a little bit different on that, right? Like your
Right. Yeah.
rationalization on that might be a little bit different, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a perfect example of it. Because of the time of death when you make a mistake, it pulls me out of the experience. It reminds me like, oh, I'm playing this really hard game. Am I having fun? Like I start thinking stuff like, am I really enjoying myself? Is that
Right.
make sense?
Right.
And then that's when it starts chipping away. Maybe I don't really like this game.
Right.
And so it's something to think about. Like everyone's a little bit different what pulls them out of
Well,
something.
the thing that I've seen, the more and more that I see, right, when it comes to the internet aspect of it, is that people expect you to play the most popular or the most talked about games, and that's just and as me being a gamer, or you want to call me an old fart, that's great. I've been there, done that. I don't. I played the Mario's. I played everything, the Zeldas. I played the popular games
Yeah, it's called the
through.
8-bit. They call it
Yeah,
8-bit hard.
yeah,
Like when
yeah,
we were
yeah,
growing up, it
yeah,
was referred to as 8-bit hard, right? Like
yeah, and
the 8-bit era
yeah.
was the hardest era of gaming
Oh yeah,
ever.
no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. And arcades, like, because arcades wanted to make sure that you spent that money.
Oh yeah,
So you
you
know what I'm
want to
saying.
dump
So
quarters? I got you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you had to spend that bread too. So it's like I get it. Like people who like those type of games, But listen, I want if you're gonna give me a hard game, give me controls like Ninja Gaiden. Give me controls like Sekiro. Sekiro had good control. Now it's punishing, but I at least I understood why I got killed in that situation because and it wasn't gameplay wise. It was because I didn't do the proper thing properly. So
Hmm.
that's fine. But with with that type of game that we were just talking about, like I just can't do it. That's why I'm look. Elden Ring looks amazing. I really want to play it. But if it's anything like Dark Souls, I'm out. Like I mean, that's just a popular game that I just won't be playing.
Well, I
That's just me.
mean, a good example is like Destiny, right? Like
Yeah,
every time I've would go through a season,
I'm so
all the
in and
hard.
out with Destiny. I want to. I
Yeah,
want to. I want to love Destiny so
yeah,
much.
I know,
I
I
do.
know. I'm
I
not trying to
do.
talk you out of it or anyone out
Yeah, I
of it.
know. I know. I
If you
know.
enjoy it, definitely try to enjoy it as much as possibly can. But,
Yeah.
for Destiny, like, every time I did a season, I would put all this work to get this certain gun, these certain things, and then next season, none of that stuff, all that work I did doesn't matter, right? It doesn't add up to anything, right? So basically, you just took it away my game, right? Like what I've accomplished every time they do a new release. And then, so that always kind of like pulled me out of the game, right? Like, I'm like, oh, now I'm thinking about all this grinding instead of actually enjoying the game and going through the experience. And a good example of is they're really bad about doing textures in that game. Like their do textures are really really good in certain areas, and other areas where I can see the seams where the textures don't line up and stuff like it's called UV coordinates and stuff like that. That bugs the hell out of me because I'm a character. I do that stuff for a living, right? So when I don't see UV map coordinates correctly, or you can see the seams where the textures come together and stuff like that, and they're not seamless, like I'd be like, man, if that person was on my team, they would have to fix that stuff. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
I would kind of have to come down on them, not like in a mean way, but like, this is not appropriate you know, for what our team does. You know what I mean? And the fact that stuff lets it slide. So those are like little things like that are unique to me as a gamer, right? that why I don't play that game anymore. I don't enjoy that game anymore. It doesn't mean it's a bad game. By all means, it's not a bad game. It's just it just doesn't. I don't get that enjoyment out of it anymore because of it.
And see, I have a different outlook on Destiny.
Yeah.
It's and not. I've met some really good people in the community. It's just that like, okay, well, hey, hit me up if you want to play some Destiny. Cool, all right. We'll play a couple of games, and I start enjoying myself. And then next thing you know, they got to get with their group. And then I'm like, okay, well, I see them with their group, and I'm like, well, maybe they'll hit me up because they know I'm trying to get back into it. Nope. And then I'm kind of like, listen, I ain't trying to kiss your ass to play this game. I you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and that's what gets me to point to like, I'll play the stories.
So a good example. That's a good example of something that pulls you out of the game.
It pulls me out of the game, right?
Yeah. You're no longer just going through the motions and enjoying something,
right?
Right, and you're thinking about all these other things that have nothing to do with the game, and then it becomes like work, and it doesn't become fun, right? So yeah, but it's that universal thing that I was trying. Like, what is the universal thing that I can like solidify for everyone to kind of agree on, and I think we could all come on equal terms that it's things that pull you out of the game, and it's different for everybody, and everyone's got a different reason. What I would like to see within gaming communities, and I know it's a big ask, is people just take a little time for jumping on someone's case why they don't like something. Just try to understand where they're coming from, why they don't like it, right? If they're not making any sense, then you can just kind of dismiss it, and you don't have to be a jerk about it, right? But you just keep it moving. But maybe you can kind of understand where they're coming from as a gamer, and I think we have a little bit more understanding of one another. I think we can probably get even a little bit more enjoyment out of games with one another as well, right? And so I think understanding is a big deal. But I mean, that's neither here or there. I think people just try to rubber stamp what is a good game, and I don't think anyone's got the formula.
Topic, right? Like it's just like your vision, because this game is visually beautiful, or you could shoot a gas can and it has the bouncing physics.
This one looks realistic, and then this one's cell shaded, like a
cartoon,
right? Exactly.
It's so ignorant. Like I'm like, come on, man. Like listen, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Whatever you like is what you like. There's people that will tell me all the time, nigga, I see you do fight night. I really would like to play fighters, but I just can't get into them because of, the whatever, or they're watching, like the Evo stuff, and then people just kick ass and take names, and then they get nervous because they don't want to get their ass kicked like that. Like, just give it a chance. You never know what you like. That's why I always play any and everything, because I did, that's why I big shout out to Sim Vendetta. I've said this a million times, but he gave me an opportunity to give a chance with God of War when I wasn't going to give it a chance. I was like, I'm not doing it. And
that's how I think games are, though.
Yeah. So,
but I think it has game arts. There's games that get your interest, and there's games that don't, right? Like, and that's why I always try to say, like, I don't seem that interested in that product, right? Like, I try to be as genuine as I can about it. Like, doesn't mean I won't try it or say it's bad or anything, because I don't know, right? But I just know that there's not enough to kind of make me gravitate towards it. And I'm more interested in this other thing that's going on over here, and that's just kind of normal stuff. You know what I mean? So
right. Well, and just like with Psychonauts 2, I'm not into platformers like that anymore. But that game made me so it's so engaged into it. I couldn't put it down. Like I was not, and I didn't want to be bothered. Like I'm in the, how I am when I get in the zone with a game. Like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm good.
We start putting your picture on a milk carton afterwards.
Right.
What ends up happening.
Right, because I just get locked in. But that game, for it being something that I'm kind of over platforming games. That game just had me engaged. That story was so good. Just everything about it, and I was just like, oh man. So now what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to start playing Ori again, and giving that an opportunity, because I was loving it when I was playing it, but then that old thought of like, man, this is why I'm not into platformers anymore. I just, come on, man. And then so now I'm going to give it a chance, because that game gave me that. It gave me a new sense of like, oh, you know what? I just need to get back to the fundamentals, and then I can go ahead and I can probably start liking other platformers. So Yeah, a really good game
It
is a
may
really
not,
good
and it
game. It
may not
doesn't
be your
matter what it
favorite.
has to be graphic.
It doesn't mean it's your favorite genre either, right? Like
Right. No,
it just
used to
means
be, but
like,
of course not no more.
well, that's when we didn't have other genres, right? So like,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it is what it is. So,
Mhm.
and I'm a big believer that genres never die, right? They just get
Right.
overshadowed by more popular things at the time. But you know, someone does a really good product within that genre, people are going to gravitate towards it and give it a chance, right? So
Yeah.
it's just interesting how all that kind of pans out. But
It is.
yeah, man, don't you know? People are out there just hating on games. There obviously there's games they don't like enough, right? Like
Or
here's
they
the
don't
thing. It's like,
play.
well, that's
They
the thing
don't
is if there's
play.
a game that
Right.
you liked enough, you'd be sitting there wasting your time playing the game, which is I
Hmm.
don't think a waste of time, but that's where your time will be spent, right? You
Hmm.
know, you're not obviously not enjoying things enough
No.
in regards to that, and you don't need justification. Like, here's the thing: like for me as a gamer, I don't mind sharing the stuff I like, right? I know, for example, a controversial game that people didn't like, Crackdown. Well, I like it.
Oh yeah, the story was
Cool.
great.
I'm not gonna hide from that fact.
No.
I really enjoyed that game. If you
No.
don't enjoy that game, that's cool. I don't need gratification from another player that they enjoyed that game for me to get more
Oh.
enjoyment out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. You get told if you like those type of games, you
Yeah,
know.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't need,
Diabetes.
yeah, exactly. So I
Right.
don't really need that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
It doesn't
yeah,
make any
but it
sense.
doesn't. There's anything wrong with me sharing it, and then it's someone else saying, you know, I liked it too, right? Like, and it happened, right? Like, I got all of it when I said I liked Crackdown, and I'll say it today. I don't care.
I
I
have
like
no problem
Crackdown.
with, yeah, and
It,
I was starting to get into, even though it didn't live up to any of the expectations what they showed with the multiplayer, but I was enjoying the multiplayer. I just wanted it so where we could play as teams
mhm.
you know, well, and play together as, you know, have a proper friend lobby. And yeah, it just failed miserably. But yeah, no, the story and the way that the game played, the way that the game looked, no, there was nothing wrong with Crackdown 3's story aspect of it. It was the multiplayer that failed them, I thought. And if they had, but you know, now coming to look and see all the issues and troubles that was going on now, and seeing that, like, you know, Sumo Digital's got bought, got acquired by someone else.
Who did it
Um,
get acquired by?
I forgot who they got acquired by. I was it the Embers Group or was it Tencent? I can't remember who acquired them, but
Mm, interesting.
um, it was one of those type of companies. But they to me it was like if they added more story content, I think that the game was getting ripped apart. So then, you know, some people's like, just wash your hands. But that's why I don't want them to give up on that IP. Like, you know, yeah, it was a bad situation, but now you got enough studios now to say, hey, look, are you interested in the Crackdown franchise? Would you want to, you know, mess with it? And if there's a Tencent, okay, that's what I thought. If
Well,
you're
yeah, my
interested,
thing is
here, have at it.
if the right studio is loves the idea of it, I say go for it, right?
Right,
But what I
right.
don't want Microsoft doing, and I don't think, and I'm
Oh,
not
it's
really that
forcing.
worried,
Right, right,
forcing a studio that's just really not a good fit for it for the
right,
project,
right.
or being brave enough to say, hey, you know, yeah, you may want to work on it, I just don't think you're a good fit for the project, and then not to
Mm,
be a jerk or anything like that, because sometimes that's the case. Like sometimes you're just not a good fit. That's just kind of the harsh reality. You know what I mean? So
that is true. That is true. All right, last point right here. That was a great topic. He says, what did you say, Yobi? He says, how come nobody has their eyes on Tencent making all these? But man, Embers Group, Tencent, listen, that's just the internet of, you know, the little small group that we see always complaining, you know, moaning, crying about something that really doesn't make any sense. Those companies are gobbling up. Sony has now been acquiring, Sony's been acquiring a whole bunch of stuff outside of gaming here lately. Matter of fact, I think that they acquired someone else, or they're looking to acquire something else. I think it might have to do something with movies or something like that. But Sony's been acquiring different stuff. It hasn't been all pertaining to gaming, but I mean, listen, you know, it's that season, it's that time. Like, and there's these studios that's just like, man, hey, you know, gaming is expensive, man. Go ahead and I'm down. Look me up. So just at that time. But last topic before we get out of here, and that is talking about Forza Horizon 5. Um, your thoughts so
I,
far of what you've seen?
I
I know
bought
that
the
we
expensive one a while ago, so I'm ready. I'm
you
all
bought
in.
the
Yeah, I went
yeah
all in.
the shut up version. Okay, I got
Yeah, the
you.
shut
The
up
shut up
edition is what I
edition. Yeah, the
want.
shut up
Yeah, that's
edition.
right.
Yeah, give it all to me. Right. So I might have to approach that a little bit differently this year, but because I normally buy Forza.
Yeah, we talked a little bit
Yeah,
earlier
yeah, we
about
talked about
that
that. Yeah,
that
but
stuff, but yeah, I mean for me, I'm all in.
yeah, yeah.
Ever since three, I never really liked the ones prior to three all that much,
Well,
to be
that was the
honest with
question I was
you.
going to ask you. Right. Okay. So
So,
from the stuff that we've seen, right, we haven't got a chance to only select few got a chance to play the preview right now.
mhm.
But for what you've seen, could this be the potential? Because everybody goes to Forza 3. I still think Forza 1 and 3 are, to me, tied with the best. There was more
I
content
think
on 3,
three.
of course.
I think three was special just because there was
One was
certain
one was
there
so
was
good.
but
Oh
there
my
was
god.
unique there was more unique areas with three.
Well, yeah, it's a
It,
bigger game, of course. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we're talking about a
and
360 game compared to an Xbox One game.
I
Yeah, so
gotcha, but there
yeah.
was more areas, and then there was it was the first like one of the first Microsoft games, even Sony games, to offer true HDR.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that was very memorable to me as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In regards to that. And so it was just one of those, it hit that sweet spot between like arcadey and sim controls that like I don't think any other game, obviously they've had their earlier iterations, but nothing else came close to how that game kind of controlled, if that makes any sense. And the diversity of the area. That's why I like when I played four, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a bad Horizon game, hell no. But four was, it was just like it was a small game, it was a small map. I blew through that game really really quick. Not even close to the playtime I got out of three.
For
It
3,
was
yeah.
like maybe a third of it, to be honest with you. So that was the one thing I would say that makes it. And then like I don't know, I didn't really like the whole season thing, how that worked, to be honest with you. So that was a little bit it wasn't bad. Then again, it just wasn't as enjoyable as I had it with three. I would say so.
Okay, so but what do you think about 5? Do you think 5 has the potential? Because I mean, this is going to be bigger.
Hmm.
I don't know because I think that Forza Horizon 2 was even bigger than 4. In my opinion, I think because that Forza Horizon 2 was massive. It was a
Forza
lot
Horizon
bigger than
Two
what.
had Forza Horizon Two had fake big,
Right, right. It
in the
was a
sense because it
lot
did
of
kind of like a lot of
repetitiveness.
visible
Yeah,
walls, and you had to force the long way around. There was a
right.
lot of things they were doing just to.
Yeah, there wasn't no fast travel. Lord have mercy.
No,
Trust me, I
there
know.
was it was trying to force you to go the distance. A lot of backtracking, a lot
Hmm.
of intentionally to draw out the game. There was a lot of like more or less the same races over and over and over again. Where
Right.
literally they were the same race. It
Same
wasn't even a
race.
different race, right?
Oh man,
And then
yeah.
I just backtracked. So those things played against, I think, too. And I don't think the controls were quite there yet for me to kind of get into it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, everyone's a little bit different. Everyone has different experiences. I know a lot of people love two, but, two didn't do it for me. So,
Yeah, but I don't know. 5 has the potential to be to be the best Forza Horizon, which I really coveted 1 and 3. 1 was just like wow. It brought me back to those old school Need for Speeds, like when I or like split second moments when I'm just like, oh my god, this is why I love racing. But
you see, one was weird because for me, I was kind of done for the arcadish type racers. I was done.
mm-hmm,
Like, I
mm-hmm.
was just like, give me, sim racers, and
Motorsport, yeah.
I'm good. Like the motorsports and the Gran Turismos of the world. That's what I was looking forward to, and I still prefer that way over Horizon. But Horizon Three is the one that pulled me out of that mindset, right? Like it pulled me back. And that's something kind of unique to Horizon Three. That's why I
Mm.
hold that one in such high regards. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, so Okay, so you're not going to just say you don't think that 5 is going to overtake all of them,
I don't
be
know.
the number one? Okay,
I don't
all
know.
right.
I don't know. Like
I,
I know I'll enjoy it. Like I don't think it's gonna be a backslide or anything like that.
mhm.
And I look forward to playing it, but I don't know if I want to set those sort of expectations because I kind of had that expectation going into from 3 to 4, if you know what I mean,
Mhm.
when they showed all the season stuff, and then after implementing and actually applying it, I didn't feel that way afterwards. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, I'm gonna go
you
on a
know,
limb and say it is. I say it's gonna overtake them all. I think this game is gonna be ridiculous because this game is going to be. I think this is going to. I don't think we're going to get another Forza for a while. Well, Forza Horizon for a little bit. I don't think. I think this is going to be one that they're going to hold on to for
you think
longer than.
you think they're gonna push to a 3-year cycle on Forza instead of every other year?
Yeah. I think that they're going to push them to. Um, they're going to get this one, and then next year we'll find out about motorsport. Motorsport could even be coming out maybe sometime at the end of the year or in 2023. I think that they're just holding on to motorsport for because I think that they want to blow our socks off with that. So. And then that would give enough time for people to be at that point.
Well, it's
They'll
going to
get their
be the
fill with
next
Forza
big jump
Horizon.
too for their engine as well. Like
Right.
a lot of people don't realize on this Horizon, kind of running on and the older variant of the engine.
Right, and right,
It's
and it's
not even
looking
close to what
amazing.
motorsport is being worked on right now.
Yeah,
So, and imagine where that's going to go because of that. So,
yeah,
um, and the engine's not everything, right? Like the engine's only as good as the assets you apply into it and how you apply the strengths and weaknesses of the engine. But you won't be as limited with the new engine, that's for sure. So
yeah. All right. Well, okay. What do you guys think? Yeah, I'm looking at one bad mother. Which do you think that Forza Horizon 5 is going to be the best out of the series, or out of the franchise? I say it will. I think that they're going to implement everything that they put into 3 and 1. Take a little bit from 4 and 2 and just make like the best version. I just think that they just know they're going to put it all together. And then
I think
Mexico is going to have a lot of different,
it's going to have a lot more off road.
a lot more to
That's
offer. That's
Yeah.
one thing
So
too.
no
Right.
off road. So I think it's
Oh
going to be
yeah, that's
less
going to have a lot
street
of off road too.
races.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to be less street races in that game and more of the cross country ones, the Baja buggies, the rally cars. You can tell like that game's gonna be built around that quite a bit.
Right.
So
And one bad mother said, he says, I like 3 better than 4. Environments are incredibly important in that type of game. Also, progression was too unfocused. He says, I'm excited 5 to be better than in both areas. Yeah, no, that's also true too. So that's why I just think that this is going to be really special. And this is, man, yeah, Xbox is going to be going hard in the paint with Forza and Halo coming back from that. Like that's a serious
the
lineup.
wombo combo.
That's a wombo combo right there. So, but all right, Don, where can they find you at, man?
Yeah, the best thing to do is follow me on Twitter, Don, I believe _KTR. Everything that I'm doing is on there. So if you see me streaming, you see me post things to my YouTube channel, all that stuff would be there. You can even find my merch store there as well. So I'll do everything I can after this podcast here, Mega. I'll send you a link to everything so we can start having the links to all that stuff below.
Okay, yeah, no doubt, no
For
doubt, no
for
doubt.
you guys. So, but yeah, definitely follow me in either one of those, and that will encourage me to have higher self-esteem. So it's highly encouraged for sure. So.
All right. Okay. And as for me, man, you catch me on here, right here on my channel, KMega45. You can also catch me on Twitter. That's where I mostly do all the dirty work. Is on at KMega4. On Twitch, at KMega45. Well, it's not at KMega, it's just KMega45. And then also there's going to be another place that I'm going to be lingering around to, but I'll give out that information here a little bit later. But yeah, no, there's other stuff that's in the works is planned. family life, it slows you down, and things that you want to progress in and things like that. It's held me back, but those things are still in motion. So do not worry. And yeah, I keep always saying that I got to go to put in more content. Once this stuff is all over with my mother and stuff like that, then I definitely will be on more. I just didn't think that it was going to be this long, but once all that stuff is taken care of, we'll be rolling. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. Until next time, David the Gamer will be come what, about 2 weeks. So
2 weeks, yeah. We take every other week off.
Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Friday, the GRG podcast, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Also, we'll be on the next podcast on Xbox 448's channel. That's going to be 7 p.m. It's between 6 and 7 p.m. Central time on Xbox 448 channel. So good stuff, man. It was good to do Devin the Gamer back home. It was great. But yeah, we'll see how we'll keep it rolling, how we'll do it. You know what I'm saying? If I have to upload it or vice versa, or we just kind of
we'll keep it going. I got everything's all ironed out at this point.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So
like
we'll
it's been ironed out for a while, but you said we wanted to do it on your channel, so we're gonna definitely do it here. You know, based on those conversations. But that being said, guys, I think both me and Meg would be kind of interested post after this podcast. Feel free to hit the comment section. We're trying to figure out what's a good time for you guys. Like,
Right.
we're trying to work things out, but we're also we're open to suggestions for what's a good time for you guys in regards to that, and we want to try to get be honest with you, try to get our shit together.
Right.
And so if we can find what works as an overall, and then we can make it work on our end, we're going to try to be as accommodating as we possibly can. And you know, the whole point of everything that me and Megan are doing, we're expanding to as many places as possible for you guys, right? So if you feel comfortable seeing us on Twitch, cool. If you feel better seeing us on YouTube, cool. We want to be able to expand that to as many things as possible for you guys, and you know, instead of kind of forcing you down one direction. So let us know where you would want to see us at, because I know we have stuff like on Spotify. You know, what other stuff do we have it on? We have it on a bunch of stuff, but we'll have that stuff listed down below as well. So, but yeah, definitely we're working on more content for you guys. There's no doubt about it. So,
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you. I'll see you Thursday on Xbox 448 channel, and I'll see you guys Friday on GRG, man. We got a special guest coming. So yeah, that'll be great. So hope you guys come and check us out. Everybody have a good one. We out. Peace. I don't have no outro. I need to get an outro. Maybe
do you need me to
an
give me an
outro.
animation so you can put some sweet beats to it? That flute beat.
Yeah, maybe some flute. Yeah. So all right,
Yeah.
let people know in the comments too if we need some kind of flute, or maybe Don in you know with
Dressed up as the Pied Piper.
yeah with goat hooves and over here. All right, guys, we out of here. Peace, man.